Look, I need to tell someone about this absolute disaster that just destroyed my entire life. And honestly, you are probably going to think I am the villain here, but whatever. I am Vivian. I am 28 years old, and I just watched my entire world collapse into dust because my husband decided to be a monster. I am sitting here in a studio apartment that smells like damp carpet and regret. I am unemployed. I am blacklisted from every gallery in the city. And I still cannot believe how fast everything went to hell. People talk about karma like it is some cosmic justice, but this wasn't justice. This was a calculated execution. Lucas and I had been married for 3 years. He is 35. A vascular surgeon. The kind of man who has steady hands and a heart made of ice. When we met, I thought his quiet nature was mysterious. I thought he was deep. I was wrong. He wasn't deep. He was just empty. I worked as a director at a contemporary art gallery. It was a job that required image connections and a certain lifestyle. Lucas provided the lifestyle. I provided the charm. It was a transaction, even if we called it love. But a woman has needs. A woman needs to feel desired. And Lucas, he treated me like a trophy on a shelf, dusted off for events admired from a distance, but rarely touched with any real passion. So I found passion elsewhere. His name was Sebastian, a drummer, rough around the edges. He had paint under his fingernails, and he looked at me like he wanted to devour me. He was everything Lucas wasn't. He was chaotic. He was loud. He made me feel alive. I deserve to feel alive, don't I? Is it really a crime to want a little warmth when your husband gives you nothing but cold precision? I didn't think so. Not until the day the silence started. It happened on a Tuesday. A stupid, insignificant Tuesday. I had borrowed Lucas's SUV because my car was in the shop. I drove to Sebastian's loft. We spent the afternoon together. It was intense. It was reckless. It was exactly what I needed to survive the boredom of my marriage. We were in the car for a moment before I left. Just talking. Laughing. Sebastian kissed me. A long, deep kiss right there in the front seat. I told him I loved how dangerous he made me feel. I drove home feeling flushed and happy. I parked the car in the garage and went inside to make dinner, playing the role of the dutiful wife. Lucas came home at 7. He looked tired. He always looked tired. He kissed my cheek, a dry peck that meant nothing. I need to check the dash cam, he said. His voice was flat. I think someone scratched the bumper in the hospital parking lot. My heart stopped. I froze in the kitchen holding a knife over a bell pepper. The dash cam. It records inside the cabin. I had forgotten to turn it off. I tried to stay calm. I tried to think of a lie. Maybe the audio was off. Maybe the angle didn't catch us. Oh, I said, my voice trembling just a little. Do you want dinner first? He didn't answer. He just walked out to the garage. I stood there for 10 minutes. 10 minutes that felt like 10 years. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. I prepared my defense. I would cry. I would tell him I was lonely. I would tell him it was a mistake. I would blame his long hours at the hospital. I would make him feel guilty for neglecting me. The door from the garage opened. Lucas walked in. He was holding the small SD card in his hand. He didn't look angry. He didn't look sad. He looked bored. He looked at me. Then he looked at the SD card. Then he looked back at me. Lucas, I started stepping forward. Wait. Let me explain. I have been so lonely, and you are never here, and I just needed someone to coffre. He didn't scream. He didn't throw a vase. He didn't call me a whore. He just slipped the SD card into the breast pocket of his shirt. He patted the pocket once gently. Then he turned around and walked into his study. He closed the door. The click of the lock was the loudest sound I had ever heard. I stood there in the kitchen, the bell pepper still uncut. I waited for him to come out and yell. I waited for the explosion. But there was nothing. Just silence. I told myself he was in shock. I told myself he was weak. If he was a real man, he would have fought for me. He would have been jealous. But he did nothing. And that is when I made my first mistake. I thought I had won. The next morning I woke up in our bed. Alone. Lucas had slept in the guest room. I went downstairs. He was in the kitchen making coffee. He was wearing his scrubs. He looked perfectly normal. Good morning, I said, testing the waters. He didn't turn around. He poured the coffee into a travel mug. He screwed the lid on tight. Lucas, I said, louder this time. Are we going to talk about this? He picked up his keys. He walked past me as if I were a piece of furniture. He didn't blink. He didn't flinch. He just walked out the door. That was the beginning of the treatment. For 7 days, he didn't speak a single word to me. Not one. He wasn't giving me the silent treatment like a teenager. This was different. This was erasure. He stopped cooking for 2. He would come home with takeout just enough for 1 person. He would eat it at the counter while reading medical journals on his tablet. I would scream at him. "You are being childish," I yelled on the 3rd night. "Say something, scream at me, hit me, do something." He didn't even look up from his screen. He turned the page. It was maddening. I felt like I was going insane. I started to doubt if I even existed. He did his own laundry. He moved his clothes to the guest room. He locked the door when he left for work. I tried to provoke him. I left my phone unlocked on the table with Sebastian's messages visible. Messages about how much I missed his touch. Lucas moved the phone to a coaster so he could put his glass of water down. He didn't look at the screen. He didn't care. That hurt more than any slap could have. He didn't care enough to be angry. I texted Sebastian constantly. "He is a psycho," I wrote. "He is torturing me. It is emotional abuse. He is cold and dead inside. I can't wait to leave him." Sebastian was supportive at first. He called Lucas a loser. He told me I was a queen who deserved to be worshipped. I clung to that. I told myself I was the victim here. I was trapped in a house with a sociopath who wouldn't let me go, but wouldn't acknowledge me either. By the 5th day, the silence was physically painful. The house felt huge and empty. I would follow him from room to room, begging for a reaction. "I am sorry," I cried, grabbing his arm. He stopped. He looked at his arm where my hand was touching him. He looked at it with pure disgust, like a cockroach had landed on his expensive shirt. I let go, recoiling. He brushed the fabric of his sleeve, smoothing out the wrinkle I had made. Then he walked away. I poured myself a glass of wine. Then another. I sat in the dark living room and hated him. I hated him for making me feel small. I hated him for his control. I decided I would make him pay. I would embarrass him. I would show everyone that his perfect marriage was a sham. The annual hospital charity gala was on Saturday. I assumed I wasn't going. Why would he take me? We hadn't spoken in a week. But on Saturday afternoon, a courier arrived. He delivered a box. Inside was a dress. It was a stunning emerald green gown. Silk. Backless. Expensive. There was a note. It wasn't handwritten, it was typed. "Be ready at 6. Do not be late." I stared at the note. Confusion mixed with relief. He wanted me there. Of course he did. He needed his trophy. He needed to keep up appearances. He couldn't let his colleagues know his wife was stepping out on him. This was my power. He needed me. I spent hours getting ready. I did my hair up. I put on my best diamonds. I looked incredible. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman who was too beautiful to be ignored. When I walked downstairs at 6, Lucas was waiting. He was in a tuxedo. He looked devastatingly handsome. He looked at me. For a second, I saw something in his eyes. Appreciation, no. It was assessment, like he was checking a surgical instrument for rust. He offered me his arm. "Shall we?" he said. Those were the first words he had spoken to me in 168 hours. I took his arm. "You finally decided to speak," I hissed. He didn't reply. He led me to the car. The gala was in a massive ballroom downtown. Chandeliers, champagne towers, the city's elite. As soon as we walked in, Lucas transformed. The cold statue melted. He became the charming, charismatic Dr. Lucas Vance. He shook hands. He laughed at bad jokes. He introduced me to the chief of surgery. He put his hand on the small of my back. His fingers were cold even through the silk. He guided me through the room, parading me around. I played my part. I smiled. I laughed. I charmed the donors. But every time we were alone for a split second, the mask fell. His face went blank. His eyes went dead. We moved to the dance floor. The orchestra was playing a waltz. He pulled me close. Too close. His grip was tight, bordering on painful. "You are hurting me," I whispered, smiling for the cameras. "Am I?" he asked. His voice was smooth like velvet over gravel. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "Why bring me here if you hate me?" He spun me around. The room blurred. "I don't hate you, Vivian," he said calmly. "Hate requires energy. I don't have energy for you." "Then what is this?" I demanded. "Forgiveness." He looked down at me. His eyes were dark voids. This he gestured to the room, to the champagne, to the opulent life we built. This is a farewell tour. I frowned. Waddy pulled me closer, his lips brushing my ear. To anyone watching, it looked romantic. Intimate. Take a good look, Vivian, he whispered. Drink the expensive champagne. Eat the caviar. Enjoy the adoration of these people. Lucas, you are scaring me, I said. Good, he said. Because this is the last time you will ever set foot in a room like this. This is the last time you will matter. I pulled back, trying to break his grip, but he held me firm. You think you can just discard me, I hissed. I will take half of everything. I will ruin your reputation. He smiled. It was a terrifying smile. It didn't reach his eyes. You can try, he said. The song ended. He released me abruptly. I have rounds in the morning, he said to the group standing nearby. Vivian is feeling unwell. I should take her home. He walked me out. The ride home was silent again. But this time the silence wasn't empty. It was heavy. It was the silence of a guillotine blade hanging right above my neck. I told myself he was bluffing. He was just trying to scare me into submission. He wouldn't divorce me. It would cost him too much. He was too proud to admit his wife cheated. I was so arrogant. I was so stupid. Monday morning, I went to the gallery. I needed to get away from the house. I needed to feel important again. I stopped at my favorite coffee shop on the way. I ordered my usual latte. I tapped my card to pay. Declined. I frowned. Try it again. Declined. That's weird, I laughed nervously. Try this one. I pulled out the joint credit card. Declined. Contact issuer. My stomach dropped. I pulled out cash, the emergency 20 I kept in my wallet, and paid. I called the bank from my car. I am sorry, ma'am, the operator said. Mr. Vance has reported these cards lost or stolen and requested a freeze on all joint assets pending a fraud investigation. Fraud, I shrieked. I am his wife. He is the primary account holder, ma'am. You will need to speak with him. I called Lucas. Straight to voicemail. I drove to the gallery in a panic. I parked the SUV in my reserved spot. As I was walking to the entrance, a tow truck pulled up behind me. A large man hopped out. Vivian Vance? He asked. Yes, I have a repossession order for the vehicle. What? No. We lease this car. The payments are automatic. Lease was terminated this morning, lady. Breach of contract. Or voluntary surrender. I don't know the details, I just have the paperwork. You cannot take my car, I screamed. People were looking. My staff was watching from the glass windows of the gallery. Key, the man said, holding out a greasy hand. I had to give it to him. I had to watch him hook up my luxury SUV and drag it away while my assistant watched with her mouth open. I stood on the sidewalk, humiliated. Tears streamed down my face. He was cutting me off. He was actually doing it. I needed help. I needed support. I called a taxi. I gave the driver Sebastian's address. Sebastian would help me. He loved me. He told me I was his muse. We would figure this out. We would sue Lucas for everything he had. I ran up the stairs to Sebastian's loft. I banged on the door. It opened. Sebastian was standing there. He was shirtless. He looked annoyed. Vivian, he said. You didn't text. He knows I sobbed, pushing past him into the apartment. Lucas knows everything. He cut off my cards. He took the car. I have nowhere to go. I looked around the room. There was a girl sitting on the couch. She looked about 22. She was wearing one of Sebastian's t-shirts. I stopped. Who is she? Sebastian sighed. He ran a hand through his messy hair. Vivian, look, he said. You need to leave. Leave, I stared at him. But I left him for you. We are supposed to be together. Sebastian laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. Together, he said. Vivian, you were a fun time. You paid for the dinners. You bought me the vintage snare drum. It was fun. Fun, I choked out. I love you. He walked over to the table and picked up his phone. Your husband called me, Sebastian said. My blood ran cold. He called you? Yeah. Saturday night, while you were sleeping. Sebastian smirked. He sent me the video. The one from the car. High definition. Good angles. Oh my God. He was pretty chill about it, Sebastian continued. He said he doesn't use second-hand goods. He said I could keep you if I wanted. He looked me up and down with a sneer. But I don't want his leftovers either. And honestly, he offered to buy 2 of my paintings for his office if I agreed never to see you again. $5,000 each. He pointed to the door. That is 10 grand, Viv. I need the money. I looked at the girl on the couch. She wasn't even looking at me. She was scrolling on her phone, bored. Get out, Sebastian said. I walked out of the loft. I walked down the stairs. My legs felt like lead. My chest felt like it was caving in. Lucas hadn't just cut me off. He had sold me. He had traded me for 2 mediocre paintings just to prove a point. He had stripped me of my dignity before I even knew the game had started. I took the bus home. I had never taken the bus in my life. It took 2 hours. I walked the last mile to our house in the rain. My heels were ruined. My hair was plastered to my face. I looked like a drowned rat. When I got to the house, the driveway was empty. Lucas's car was gone. I unlocked the front door. The house echoed. It was empty. Not just of people, of things. The paintings were gone. The expensive rugs were gone. The furniture in the living room gone. I ran upstairs to our bedroom. My closet was full. My clothes were there. My shoes were there. But his side empty. Bare hangers. He hadn't just left. He had moved out. In one day. I ran to the study. The desk was there. On the center of the mahogany desk, there was a single manila envelope and a small silver USB drive. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely open the envelope. Divorce papers. I scanned them. They were brutal. Adultery. Violation of prenuptial agreement. Clause 4B. Forfeiture of assets. I didn't even remember Clause 4B. Who reads the fine print when they are in love? Or pretending to be? I plugged the USB into the laptop that was left on the desk. A folder opened. It wasn't just the dashcam video. There were screenshots of my texts to Sebastian. There were GPS logs from my phone showing my location at Sebastian's loft. There were photos of us at a cafe 3 months ago. The dates went back 6 months. He knew. He had known for 6 months. He hadn't been working late at the hospital. He had been meeting with lawyers. He had been moving money into offshore trusts that I couldn't touch. He had been separating our assets. He had been planning this exit strategy with the same precision he used to repair arteries. The silence of the last week wasn't shock. It wasn't weakness. It was him waiting for the ink to dry on the final paperwork. It was him waiting for the lease on the car to expire. It was him letting me dig my own grave a little deeper. I grabbed my phone. I dialed his number. I expected voicemail. But he answered. Hello, Vivian. His voice was calm, almost cheerful. You monster, I screamed. You planned this. You knew. Of course I knew, he said. I am a surgeon, Vivian. We diagnosed the problem before we cut. You left me with nothing, I cried. You turned Sebastian against me. You humiliated me. I didn't turn Sebastian against you, Lucas said. I just showed him a better offer. Men like him always have a price. You should have known that. I am your wife. You were my wife, he corrected. Now you are a liability that has been liquidated. I will sue you. Read the prenup, Vivian. The infidelity clause is ironclad. You get nothing. No alimony. No house. You keep your clothes and your jewelry. That is it. How could you be so cruel, I sobbed. I made a mistake, one mistake. It wasn't one mistake, he said. It was 1,000 choices. You chose him. Every time you lied to me, you chose him. I am just respecting your choice. Lucas, please, I begged. My pride was gone. Please, I have nowhere to go. I have no money. There was a pause on the line. For a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, there was a shred of humanity left in him. You are a survivor, Vivian, he said softly. You will find someone else to use. You always do. Lucas, the locks will be changed tomorrow at noon. The movers are coming for your things. Be out. Click. He hung up. I sat in the empty study listening to the silence. It wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. It was the sound of a life being erased. It has been 3 months. I am living in a studio apartment on the wrong side of town. I work as a hostess at a mid-tier restaurant. It is humiliating. I have to smile at people who used to visit my gallery. When they recognize me, I see the pity in their eyes. Or the amusement. Word got out, of course. Lucas didn't tell anyone, but he didn't have to. The pictures of Sebastian's paintings in his new office, which he posted on Instagram, said enough. The art world is small. Everyone knows I cheated. Everyone knows I was discarded. I have no friends. The friends I had were friends with my husband's money. Without the money, they stopped calling. I tried to date, but men smell the desperation on me now. They treat me like I treated Lucas. Like I am disposable. I look at my phone. I stalk Lucas's social media. I know I shouldn't, but I can't stop. He is in Italy. He always wanted to go to Italy, but I told him I hated the heat. There is a photo of him on a boat in Lake Como. He is wearing sunglasses. He is holding a glass of wine. He looks younger. The tiredness is gone from his face. He looks free. There is no woman in the picture. He is alone. He didn't leave me for someone else. He left me for peace. And that is the bitterest pill to swallow. I sit here on my lumpy mattress and I replay that week of silence in my head. I thought I was punishing him. I thought I was the main character in a tragic romance. I thought he was weak. But he was just patient. He watched me burn my own life down, and he didn't lift a finger to stop me. He handed me the matches and watched the show. I hate him. God, I hate him so much. But what keeps me awake at night, what makes me stare at the ceiling until the sun comes up, is the realization that I don't miss Sebastian. I don't even remember what Sebastian smells like. I miss the silence. I miss the safety of that big cold house. I miss the man who was steady enough to hold my chaos. And I know with a sickening certainty that I will never find anyone like him again, because it takes a special kind of brilliance to destroy someone without ever raising your voice. And I was stupid enough to hand him the knife.